everyone. Are you awake? Good morning. Thank you for being here. I know it's a little loud on the side, but I'll try to be louder for you so we can stay awake together, okay? So I'm here to talk to you about a very important piece of the college process for you. My colleague Julie just talked about finding a campus that fits you, and that's very, very important. The number one thing, a school that has your major of choice, a school that has a community that fits you. And then after that, people always ask, how much does it cost? That's right. So I'm here to talk to you about what that financial picture looks like. As Julie mentioned, there's 4,700 plus institutions in the US, and they have a lot of different costs depending on where you go. Some will cost less, some will cost more, but many of these institutions do have scholarships, and I want to make sure that you understand how those work and how you can access them. So one of the things that international students often ask me is, what does this term financial aid mean? Have you ever wondered that? You hear financial aid and say, huh? I don't get it. So one of the things that we're talking about with financial aid is the US government financial aid that's only available for US citizens. What that means is, have you heard the term FAFSA? Okay, well, I'm glad, because I have some students who look it up and they spend 4+ hours filling it out just to find out that it was a waste of their time. So you are going to be smarter than that because you know in advance. But basically, that's a form that Americans fill out to show their parents' tax data, and then the government decides if their parents make little enough money to get some need-based aid from the government. You don't qualify for that. However, many institutions do offer institutional merit-based scholarships based on the background that you have as a student. So for example, at my institution, we give scholarships to international students based on their SAT or ACT score and their GPA. So for international students, SAT or ACT is optional at our school, so just submitting a test score is your scholarship application. Some schools will have a different process, just like the admissions process, that you'll have to submit an essay in general to be considered for aid, or you might need to submit an essay for each specific scholarship they offer. And so I recommend when you're looking at admissions processes and you decide, I love this school, and I love the area it's in, and I think I'll fit well there, then ask, how do I apply for scholarships? What is that process? So that's the general institution merit-based aid, and there are some specific scholarships that each school might offer. At my school, it's for robotics. Since we are a STEM school, we like students who do things in science and math. If you're a woman student going into STEM, we have special scholarships. We have special scholarships for folks who are going into aviation, and that's just at my school. Many schools have a lot of different opportunities depending on who you are and what your background is, and sometimes what our wealthy alumni want us to give money to. There might be special scholarships with special criteria that you fit perfectly. So I encourage you to look it up, make a spreadsheet, or ask questions, because we want to make sure if there's scholarships available that you, as brilliant Canadian students, have applied properly so we can help you afford your college education. Another thing that you might have already realized after hearing the NCAA speaker is that there's often sports scholarships at different universities. It's kind of a joke at my school. Our #1 sport is the flight team, right? We have the top flight team in the country. We race airplanes. But we do actually offer sports scholarships for other sports as well, for soccer and wrestling and volleyball and golf. Ours are partial scholarships because we are in a lower division. Some D1 schools might have full scholarships if you are an athletic superstar. So that's another way outside of your academics that you might qualify for really great institutional-based aid. So after that, there's also third-party scholarships that you might be eligible for. I received several very strange scholarships when I went to college. Some weren't too strange. The Parent-Teacher Association gave me a scholarship. The Teacher Alumni Association, apparently our teachers paid $1 every Friday when they wore jeans, and then they gave me that money when I went to college. So that was really cool, and they were really comfortable. That was exciting. But I also got things from the National Italian American Foundation, from the Danish Sisterhood. And mind you, I'm a third-generation American, so it was because my grandparents were nice to people at luncheons that I ended up applying for and receiving scholarships. And I've seen scholarships from a lot of other things too. If you have a religious affiliation, or if you don't have a religious affiliation, there's affiliations of people who aren't religious and want to give you money. if you have a different gender identity than you were born with, a different sexual orientation, you like playing in the dirt with worms, you like reading books, there's a lot of different scholarships that folks have created, and over $1 billion in scholarship money go unclaimed every year for the little strange ones. So I tell students, when I was a student, I applied for one that was especially strange because I'd never heard of the organization before, called Grandmothers for Peace. And I was in the Mata UN team, and I just so happened to be standing at a lectern just like this and talking about nuclear nonproliferation. And someone took my picture, put it in a newspaper, and it said, Lisa Maroni talks about nuclear nonproliferation at Royal Oak High School. And so I clipped it out, and I wrote a little essay about how I think bombing other countries is a bad idea, sent it to them, and they sent me a scholarship. So awesome, right? So there's a lot of things that you might not have thought of that might help you afford your college education. Keep that in mind. So the next piece that they've asked me to talk to you is about STEM education. What does STEM stand for? Yeah, whisper, whisper, whisper. Yes, science, technology, engineering, and math. And now this is a really important thing that we're talking about in the US and Canada, because we have more STEM jobs available than we have STEM students. Only 21% of Canadian university students are going into STEM fields. And of that, only 20% of that are women students. And so both in general need and for a need of tapping the talent of both genders on campus, we aren't doing so great. And I'll tell you, of the top 16 industrialized countries, Canada is number 12 of 16 for people going into STEM. The US is below you. And so there's this really great need and some really exciting new careers that are opening up for students who are going into these fields. I've talked a lot this week about UAVs or drone programs. Right? Let's use aerial robotics. And so there's a lot of commercial applications that are coming up for people who are interested in aerial robotics. You can be a firefighter, go into hot places where people can't go and check if there's humans walking around and you need saving. You could be a fisherman or fisherwoman and go out and check for schools of fish and then send the boat there so they don't waste oil and time looking for them. You could deliver packages for Amazon if the FAA decides how to register your aerial robot, so they can do that. So there's over 700,000 new jobs they're projecting in this field in the next 2 years. And there's certainly not enough students graduating from that program. Cybersecurity is another one. We have a kind of strange program on my campus called ethical hacking. Right, we have a hacking lab. We'll teach you how to hack. They're projecting that there's going to be 18% growth in cybersecurity fields for folks over the next decade, and not enough students studying that. So if you're the kind of student who likes to sit on the computer, play video games, hack into people's computers ethically, you might have a job for your government, for banks, for businesses that never existed 10 years ago. And so I want to be a strong voice to encourage you. If no one asked you if you want to be an engineer, if no one asked you if you want to fly a UAV, if you want to be a firefighter but with robots and not your own body, if you want to do something that's a little untraditional and you're excited about it, please do it, because we really do have a need, so much to the point that the US government will give you a longer time after you're a student to intern in the States if you went into a STEM field. So most students on an F1 visa only get 1 year to intern, and then they have to go home. Our STEM students get 27 months because we recognize how much they contribute to our economy. So if you're going to be an art student, a music student, you have a passion to be a teacher, I'm not talking to you. There is a role for you too, and you're very important. But for the rest of you, if you're thinking about it and you say, oh, I'm not really sure, stay in calculus, stay in physics, stay in chemistry, so that way you have the book knowledge you need to use your hands when you get to university in your brains to create the new careers your professors haven't even done yet, okay? I'm going to leave it there because I want to let you hear the next really great speaker. But if you have more questions about STEM, about aviation, about money, or about studying abroad as an international student, since I've done that several times, I'd love to talk to you at the Embry Riddle booth.